into a crowded room. Everybody staring, what did I do wrong? What did I do wrong? Oh, you see what you wanna see, but you don't even know me. What did I do now? What did I do now? He said, she said, over it. You're acting like you're brilliant, but you don't know. Yeah, you don't know. You don't know a thing at all. You don't know about the way I am when I am all alone. You don't even know the way I care, the way I've grown. You don't know about the way I love so deeply through my bones. You don't even know me. Whoa. I walk it off and brush away everything you say, 'cause I don't care at all. I don't care at all. He said, she said, over it. You're acting like you're brilliant, but you don't know. Yeah, you don't know. You don't know a thing at all. You don't know about the way I am when I am all alone. You don't even know the way I care, the way I've grown. You don't know about the way I love so deeply through my bones. You don't even know me. Whoa. You don't even know me. Whoa. You don't even know. You don't know a thing at all. You don't know about the way I am when I am all alone. You don't even know the way I care, the way I've grown. You don't know about the way I love so deeply through my bones. You don't even know me. You don't even know me.
Gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? The show starts.
Hello, how is everybody doing? Hopefully, you all are having a great week. I have Tara with me again this evening, and let me go through here real quick. Let's see. We have Yep. Thank you so much, Yep, for being here to mod. Lisa, Texas Blue Bonnets. Run for Justice, Margaret, Bianca, Ryan, Tammy, Van Leer, Bojangles, Lisa, Patrick. So great to see you guys. In the free zone with Norm, thank you so much for being here. Maxine, CB, I see you, Ray of Sunshine. Patrick, Bling and Beezy, Husker RN, Maxine, Shayna. Thank you so much, you guys. Really appreciate you being here this evening. I don't think, Tara, can you hear me?
I can hear you. I was on mute, but I
Okay.
was talking, so
Okay.
I was enjoying me if nobody else was.
Okay, great.
But the chat is
So,
active. It's hard to keep up with
The
again.
chat
That's
is
awesome.
very active. I love it.
It's
Thank you
great.
guys
There's
so much.
almost 100 watching our lovely faces and listening to our lovely voices. It's an awesome start.
Wonderful. Hope you guys like the new intro. I'm going to work on it a little bit more, but I thought it was kind of cool till I add some graphics and stuff to it. But
I
hopefully
like the
everybody's
background
having. Thank you. Hopefully everybody's having a great week. Real quick, I just want to say that my heart is with everybody on the East Coast that's been affected by the hurricane. Asheville, North Carolina happens to be one of my husband and I's favorite places to go visit, and to see in all that destruction and lives lost and missing people is heartbreaking. So to all of those that are out there on that side of the United States that are having to cope with this, our thoughts are with you and your families. And tonight we are just going to, hopefully it's not a very long live. Hi, C. Lane. Thank you for being here. We're just going to kind of go over what led up to them getting arrested, and then what has transpired since they have been arrested. And then I believe next week we will start to go over like what we can expect coming up with the preliminary hearings, trial, and that kind of thing. So let's get started.
Agreed.
All right. So we're going to explore the investigation, the legal proceedings, and the evidence that is related to the disappearance and murder of Veronica Butler and Jilian Kelley, shown here on the right. Most everybody in the chat is very well aware of this case. If you're not, I suggest you just go back and watch some of our other videos that we've done. There's a full playlist on Veronica and Jilian. And then last week, we did go over what led up to it, the custody battle and all of that. So go back and check that out if you missed it. So Veronica Butler and Jilian Kelley disappeared on March 30th, 2024, setting off a series of investigations. And that uncovered a murder conspiracy involving 5 suspects. Now, allegedly, this was led by Tiffany Adams. The suspects now face charges for their roles in the calculated plot. The motive seems to stem from a bitter custody dispute between Veronica Butler and Tiffany Adams, who is the grandmother of Veronica's children. And that escalated into a fatal conspiracy that was orchestrated by Tiffany Adams, Tad Colum, Paul Grice, Cora Twombly, and Cole Twombly, who are a married couple. The case against the 5 defendants is built on physical evidence that was recovered at the crime scene. It includes DNA traces, witness testimonies, and phone records, all of which point to their active involvement in the murders. And Tara, you can jump in at any time if you want to. So just to go back a little bit, the timeline, Veronica and Jilian disappeared March 30th of this year. They were traveling from Hugoton, Kansas to Texas County, Oklahoma for Veronica's court-ordered visitation. Now, when they didn't arrive when they were supposed to, that set off alarms, and family and friends that knew of the tension surrounding Veronica's custody battle immediately went looking for her. And as they went looking for her, they did find her vehicle discovered abandoned near Highway 95 and Rodell, which is south of Elkhart, Kansas. The investigators came out right away. OSBI, because I deal with so many in Tennessee, sorry. OSBI was called in almost immediately. Within, was it the same day, Tara?
And
I lost
yes,
Tara. She said, let me in, let me in.
I'm about to huff and puff and blow somebody's house in. Okay, so tell me again, where did I?
Yeah, it was OSBI was called in the same day that the car was discovered, correct?
Yeah, they were called in pretty quickly once, I believe Cimarron County and Texas County both showed up. I can't remember who showed up where because I can't remember exactly. This occurred in Texas occurred in Texas County, but I think Cimarron County showed up first, just because there's understaffing that is occurring there. And then there was a lot of different law enforcement agencies called in, and OSBI was recognized that their skill sets would be needed because it was too big of a case for the local people. Rumor does have it that everybody at the crime scene immediately suspected, some of whom are being charged right now. So they knew it was huge. I didn't get booted. I had to refresh my dang screen so I could see, and I still can't see. So I have to look on Shush
SOS,
TV.
SOS. I wasn't even reading the chat.
I realized I
Sorry
was trying to
about that.
gather it. I figured if I got 10 comments in there like help Tara, there you get your attention.
So, yeah, investigators found blood at the scene as
Yeah.
well as a broken hammer and other evidence suggesting foul play. There were signs of a struggle. A key detail was that the abandoned vehicle was a major turning point in the investigation, moving the case from a missing persons inquiry to a suspected violent crime scene. And I have a little timeline over here. I believe this is also in our Facebook group as
Yeah, I think
well.
so. Yep.
And we're going to have to update that very soon. So this is just a map overview of the different areas. So as you can see, Tiffany Adams' house over on here. The vehicle was found over here. And then we have Tad Cullum, who was also arrested, and that is Tiffany's boyfriend. Jamie Beasley property. This is where the bodies were found. And then down here we have Cole and Cora Twombly's home. This right here is Four Corners, which is a vacant gas station. This is where they were supposed to be meeting. Instead, this is where they were found.
So that Four Corners, again, that is on Highway 412. It's a junction between Highway 412, Highway 95, and a couple other highways. And it's a very busy road. When we traveled it, even just the one time I was on there, it was storming and nasty, and it was past dusk, and there were still cars traveling back and forth on that road without any problem. 95 going south, because we did go by the crime scene, not as busy. I had heard rumors that it's super busy, it's not as busy, and I think it depends on the time of day and who's going to Elkhart from which direction, or who's going to Guyman from which direction. But 412 is a major highway that connects Guyman and Boise City, essentially.
So
And
it's,
so
it's over here, like on
Yeah.
this side of this
Yep.
picture. It is over here. Yeah, it was pouring down rain. Couldn't see to drive or anything. And there was still
Yeah.
plenty of traffic going by Four Corners
Mhm.
that night. And that was a Wednesday evening. Yeah,
September
Wednesday
18th,
evening.
or September 17th,
Mhm.
because no, it's Tuesday evening, because Wednesday was
That's
the
right.
hearing,
Wednesday was
right?
courts.
Okay.
Tuesday night. Yeah.
Days are starting to separate for me finally, so
So April 1st through 3rd, we'll say, investigation
Mhm.
launched and OSBI became involved. OSBI joined the investigation due to the suspicious nature of the case and the violent evidence found at the scene. Interviews were conducted and investigators began piecing together a possible motive, focusing on Veronica Butler's, excuse me, contentious custody battle with Tiffany Adams. And like I said, last week we went over that entire custody battle from the very beginning until this happened.
Right.
So please go back and watch that if you've missed it. A key detail, this marked the beginning of a formal investigation that would uncover connections to a wider conspiracy to the murder of Veronica and Jilian. And this picture right here is just where the car was found. This is a side road right here. And then, like I said earlier, over here is the highway. Can't see in that picture. April 10th, evidence from witness testimony. A critical witness, we call her CW, as she is a minor, is the daughter of Cora Twombly. And CW came forward with some testimony. She revealed that there had been conversations among the defendants about murdering Veronica due to the custody battle. The testimony shed light on the conspiracy, and it revealed plans that were made by Tiffany, Paul, Tad, Cora, and Cole Twombly to eliminate Veronica mainly, but unfortunately, Jilian Kelley was with her that day to supervise the visitation with her children. Then on April 24th, 2024, the arrests were made. Tiffany, Tad, Cole, and Cora were all arrested, and they were charged with conspiracy and first-degree murder. They're also charged with kidnapping and I think one other, 5 charges total. The arrests were based on the combination of physical evidence, DNA analysis, and witness testimonies connecting them to Veronica and Jilian's disappearance and deaths.
Were they
So
were they arrested the
here we
24th, or were they arrested after the bodies were discovered? Was it the same day? I thought
I
Paul
don't
was
know why I have the
arrested closer to the
24th.
24th.
Yes, I think this is Paul's arrest date.
Okay.
Sorry about that. Yeah, they were arrested. These 4 here were arrested the day before the bodies were found. And I think I put that for Paul.
It was the day before. See, I can't keep all that. That was the day before they found the bodies, or the day of?
The day before they found the bodies.
Okay.
Yeah.
He lost to keep track of. They were arrested the 13th. Okay. Thank you, Chena. I think
Yes.
I actually said that right.
So actually the bodies were recovered on the 13th, though. They were arrested the day before they found the bodies.
Okay. It's a close timeline.
Veronica,
It's pretty tight.
yes. I remember it was the day before because I left on Friday and they were arrested the next day. And then the bodies were found 2 days later.
Yeah.
So Veronica and Jillian's bodies were recovered on land that had been recently leased by this guy here, Tad Colum. And that is known as Beasley's property in this case. There we go. So April 24th, a 5th person was arrested, and it was kind of unsuspected for all of us, I think. But Paul Grice turned himself in after discussions with OSBI. He surrendered at 4 Corners, the same exact area where Veronica was to meet up with Tiffany Adams. And this is Paul's truck down here. And that picture was taken the day of his arrest at 4 Corners, right, Tara?
Yeah, it was within a few moments. So the individual that shared this photo with me did so anonymously, and they had actually driven by 4 Corners and saw several law enforcement vehicles, saw a male kneeling down on the ground with his hands cuffed behind him. Law enforcement officials had their guns drawn, but not pointed at the individual on their knees, and the white truck there. That individual proceeded along their way, realized what they were seeing was probably related to the situation, went back, and it happened so quick. The place was abandoned, the truck was left behind, so they snapped that photo and went back to where they were going. So this is within minutes. Law enforcement had just left with Paul Grice, and then I did confirm that is Paul Grice's truck. We have confirmed that definitively. We also confirmed through law enforcement that was where Paul Grice did surrender himself, upon which was an agreement that they'd had.
Yes. CB, excuse me, CB said, in my opinion, law enforcement knew the day it happened. I do think that they knew very quickly afterwards. It was a matter of just finding where the 2 women were. And I think that that's why we didn't see the huge search effort that we thought we would see. Because,
I think they
they knew a lot.
Yeah, they knew a lot more than they let on to. And given the small community culture out there, it was probably wiser for law enforcement to keep things close to the vest so they could get as much evidence as possible to make this an airtight case.
Yeah. And Patrick said, remember Veronica's family, her aunt found the car. So I'm sure that they told law enforcement who Veronica was supposed to be meeting 3 miles away from her car. And I think it was probably pretty well known with law enforcement that there was a lot of issues going on between the 2 of them.
It's crazy.
It is crazy. So the defendants and their roles. As we know right now, this is all just based on the court documents that we have available. Things could possibly change. Tara and I are hearing a little bit of chatter about things. I don't necessarily want to say anything quite yet until it's a little bit more verified. But everything that we're talking about tonight, this is what's in the court documents, and that's what we're basing it off of. So this was the actual SWAT teams when they were coming in. Paul Jeremiah Grice, he is the youngest of the five, and he is the one, according to court documents, that stabbed and killed Veronica. During that, when he did that, he injured himself during the murder. And I believe it was he sliced his hand, and that was bandaged at an Easter event that he was in, a play, right? It was a play, and his hand
Yeah.
was bandaged. So,
Some sort of an Easter celebration, an Easter pageant, an Easter
yeah.
some sort of Easter festival that he was at, and that came out very quickly when folks saw that he had a wrapped hand. It showed up on the Facebook group very, very fast, so
Yes.
it was noticed quickly, and I think he knew it was.
Thank you, Maxine. We'll see you later. Enjoy
Enjoy,
dinner.
Maxine.
And then in the free zone with Norm said law enforcement knew they were deceased and knew who likely did it. Then they had to go about proving it. That's exactly how I think as well.
I think so too.
Most definitely. So Paul also assisted in the disposal of Jilian and Veronica's bodies at the burial site. Now, Tad
Yes.
Colum, who is Tiffany's boyfriend, he assisted in burying the bodies. He dug the burial hole, and he is also the one that killed Jilian Kelley. As for Tiffany Adams' role, she purchased burner phones. She purchased 4 of them. Stun devices. I believe there was 5 stun devices. Is that right?
Yes, 5
Four
stun
four
guns
phones,
were
because I don't think Paul had
3
a phone.
phones.
So
3 phones.
okay.
So there were 3 burner phones. If you do the math, I'm speculating a little bit here because we've not seen this in court documents. I believe that Tad and Tiffany, well, there was 3 trucks. Let me put it that way, because I'm presuming Tad and Tiffany rode in a truck, Paul rode in his, and the Twombly's rode in theirs per CW's testimony. And I believe there was basically a cell phone per vehicle. And eventually Tiffany would take one of those cell phones to be repaired, which is ended up being part of the case against them as well.
Yes. So then we are, Tiffany, she purchased burner phones, stun devices, and supplies for the murder. She hated Veronica due to the custody dispute. Cole and Cora Twombly, they acted as lookouts, and that's all we know for now. They did attempt to establish an alibi, however, through their daughter. And they went home that day. And Tara, do you want to kind of tell what they did when they went home, what they told the daughter?
Yes, they had they advised the daughter CW to clean the DNA material from the truck. I'm going to try to be careful here. We've got a lot of, it's very gruesome and graphic essentially, so I'm going to try to soften it a little bit. So they asked CW to clean the DNA material from the truck. I don't know if that was from the back of the truck, the front of the truck, just from those two helping what that looked like. It sounds like she had a friend with her who was helping her to complete that chore. And when they discussed the matter with CW, there was CW questioned, challenging why Jilian had to be attacked as well. And Cora had told CW that it was because she was basically guilty by association by helping Veronica instead of working against her. And so in their mind, Jilian was just as guilty of what Tiffany had been stating about Veronica. And so this information, along with whatever other details, like we are only, again, I've said multiple times on these lives, you can really take the documents out there at face value. They're not telling you everything. So we don't know everything that CW told her mother. And there's probably quite a bit more. The state is using what they need to, and that's what they've revealed so far.
Yes.
Did Coke, I think you mean Cole and Cora, also block the road? We've not, yes, I have to go back and look at the documents, but it sounds
I believe
like
so.
they
They
blocked the
acted as
road.
the lookouts by
Yes.
blocking the road and stuff.
Well, yeah, the court documents don't point out exactly, but in
Yeah.
theory, we've theorized that more than likely Cole and Cora probably blocked Highway 95 as Veronica was traveling south, forcing her to turn west onto L Road. And then there was one of the other trucks there, probably Paul's maybe, whoever didn't have the trailer attached to their truck. That second truck was parked blocking L Road, forcing Veronica to turn down a 2-track road. And that's super important because Veronica was driving a little SUV. I think it was a Kia Sportage or something like that. It's very similar to a Ford Escape or a Ford Edge or a Honda CRV. Very small. Those are actually on car frames, if I know. Somebody who knows vehicles better can correct me. So it doesn't belong on a 2-track road. Those 2-track roads are farm truck roads. And I have information about farm trucks now that I know what they are. Somebody enlightened me last time. That's a very specific thing. And there's a reason why they're white. And then so our theory is that Veronica was blocked off and was forced down that 2-track road where she probably met up with the truck that had the trailer on it. The other 2 trucks surrounded them, giving them a little bit of a wall so they could complete the plan they had set forth when they pushed them off the road.
This is something I often think about too, Tara. The Buckles Up said, I'm very surprised that Tad wasn't the one responsible for taking care of Veronica. It seems like Tiffany would have more confidence in Tad to target Veronica to make sure their job was taken care of. The only thing I can think of is that we don't have all the information yet,
Right.
but we do have CW saying that Cora and Cole told her things did not go as planned.
Correct. Thank you. Yes, that's a big one. They did not go as planned. Buckles Up, I kind of want to lean into this statement for a little bit. Because things didn't go as planned, I don't think they intended to attack the women there. I think the stun guns were supposed to incapacitate them so they could load them into the trailer and then take them out to Beasley's property to put them into the freezer, into the ground, and they fought back. And so I don't think the intent was to attack them there because that would leave evidence, extreme evidence behind. And so there's been some uh, rumors about Tiffany, maybe prior to the rumors, talking about something that had nothing to do with this situation, about people not covering their asses appropriately or not making sure they don't leave evidence behind or not cleaning up after themselves, that kind of rhetoric. And so I don't think the idea was to complete the task out there. I think they had the plan to take them out to Beasley's property, and whatever the plan was from there, take it there. And it just went wrong, which is probably why Tad had to take on Jilian and Paul ended up taking on Veronica. I think we're talking about, oh shit, they're not supposed to be doing this. They're not
Right.
cooperating. Now what do we do? And it was just, we're just going to do,
And
we're going to
Jillian
we're
had that
going to this
gun.
way. Jillian had
Yeah.
the gun, which it's not been stated that it's been recovered. It's
Mhm.
not been brought up that it has been, and it's not been, I don't know if it's part of Discovery or not. All of Discovery has not been provided in documentation for us. So the preliminary hearing will be very interesting to find out
Yes.
if that gun was recovered, especially if it was thrown into the burial site with Veronica and Jillian.
Right. They haven't said anything about whether or not it was found or not found, really. So,
Right.
Was Tiffany even there? Yes, because the phone
Yes.
pings. We know that she was there because of the phone pings.
Well, and in Paul Grice's, well, it's actually, it was one of the documents, and it was the state's motion to consolidate the preliminary hearings. And in the
Mhm.
state's motion, it is stated that Tiffany is there, the Twomleys were lookouts, and who attacked who. And so, yes, she was there. Absolutely. Now, what she did is what the attorneys are leaning into to try and separate her from everybody else. It's failed so far, but we'll see how preliminary goes into trial.
Yes. Run for justice, I agree. When I was putting this together, I was, they are eerie. A lot of
Go
it
out, well,
is.
and go out there. That whole place
Yeah.
is, there's a different feel to it. I'm sure the community feels the same way too. It's super sad.
Right. And Lisa, I agree. However, the charges that they have, I think, are going to be more than plenty for those two.
It'll be interesting to see if those charges don't show up later.
Yeah. Hi, Joe. Nice to see you.
Hello, Joe. You
A
don't have to
private
be. You're
message.
fine if you're late. It's all good.
Kari, I'll have to go and look. I'm not sure. If I didn't respond, then I probably didn't read it. Because if I saw it, then I've responded. But I'll look. And CB said, in my opinion, all 5 should face the death penalty. I agree.
I agree. I think they should all be tried together. All the evidence should be weighted equally against them, and they should all suffer the same punishment. And I hope that's the strategy that Paul has.
Yes, and Patrick makes a good point too. If, as PG, Paul Grice says, they were transported in trailer, why was there blood in the Twombly's truck and trailer? Because remember, they had CW
Mhm.
and her friend cleaned that up. Especially if the Twomblys were just lookouts. There's a gap that's somewhere that obviously, I don't know if Paul left it out, but it is being left out, I believe.
I
And we will
think.
probably see that at the preliminary.
Well, I think if you think about this, Veronica was short. She was not a petite woman. She was a full-figured woman. And then Jilian, I don't know. I've said this a couple of times, and people may forget. Jilian was 6 feet tall, and she was not. She was a medium type build. She was only a few pounds heavier than I am. I'm 6'1" and 145. So, and I think she was about 6 foot 150-ish, 160-ish, which is a very healthy weight for a woman of that height. And so when at my height and even at my weight, when I am sleeping alone, I'm literally dead weight. It's hard to move me. And then you've got individuals who've been attacked. Their bodies are limp. They are not cooperating. I would imagine that all 5 of them have DNA evidence on them because they all had to help move Veronica and Jilian. They did not walk into that trailer, and um, they did not volunteer to go into the hole that they were found in. I believe it would take more than a couple people to
And it
move
had to be
the t
quick too. Had to
very
be
quick, and
very quick.
so I think all 5 of them had DNA evidence on them because they had to move the bodies.
And Patrick, no, not to my knowledge, a search warrant has nothing in the documents have said anything about the gun being found. The cartridge, however, was
One of the
correct.
2. One of the 2 were
Yes,
found.
yes, but I haven't seen anything regarding the gun. Run for Justice, thank you so much. 2 $9.99 super
Oh,
stickers. Thank
that
you,
is
thank you,
so
thank you.
cool. You've been getting a lot of those.
We appreciate that
Oh my
very
goodness.
much.
They must want you to keep going, Kari. They must want you to keep going.
Yes.
That's encouragement. Outstanding.
Yes.
Oh.
I will look as soon as I'm done this evening.
Yes, let's look at that. That would be interesting. And if you've got the burner number and email, we might need to put those up on the screen for folks who don't feel Fisk and fine enough to put things out there in the open.
Yes.
Eighth.
And Run for Justice. Yeah. Accidentally bought 2.
I saw that.
Sorry. Patrick said I read that Jilian was 6 foot.
Yes. And I confirmed that. I've talked to Jillian's mother. She's a very kind-hearted woman, and Jillian was 6 feet tall. So that's near and dear to me again, because I'm 6'1", and it's just a thing. It's a tall girl thing, I guess. I don't know. We
Yeah.
can't borrow each other's clothes or anything, or other girls' clothes for that matter. That's okay.
CB, I don't think so, but I do have what evidence was found in this presentation. And so if we still have question, I can go and pull the Twombly's truck search warrant up and we can look at that real quick. All right. So yeah, the clip was in Jillian's purse.
Mm-hmm.
I heard it said make and model and color of gun and search warrant when Twomblys were arrested.
And that information could have been provided by Jillian's husband or even one of the family members for Veronica if they knew she was carrying. They may have that description would be necessary to be able to identify the gun if it was found in somebody else's possession too. So that may be why I don't remember them saying they found the gun, but just the one of the 2 clips. So somebody
Right.
had to tell somebody there was 2 clips originally, and only one was in the purse.
Definitely.
Hello,
So
Irish.
that kind of gets us up to the starting of the motions hearings and things like that. This picture right here, this is outside of the Texas County Courthouse. And Tiffany Adams, I believe this was the first court hearing that they had when the news and everybody was eyes were on this.
Mm-hmm.
So waiver of preliminary examination. At this last hearing, Paul Grice waived his right to a preliminary examination, meaning that the court will not hold a hearing to establish probable cause for his felony charges. He understood his rights and he voluntarily chose to waive the preliminary hearing.
Yep.
That allows the case to move directly to trial or further pretrial motions. And Paul also waived his right to a speedy trial, which is kind of interesting. He understands the case now may take longer to come to trial. This could allow his defense more time to prepare, but it also can delay the judicial process. The next steps for Paul are going to be involving trial preparation and possible plea deals, which I think that's kind of where they're at. I think Tara probably agrees there.
I don't think he's taken a plea deal, but I think he is I think he waived the preliminary after he was the first one to motion to consolidate or joined her.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that I think his strategy is all five of them are going to go down together. It wouldn't surprise me that if the prosecution offered Paul without Paul asking for life instead. I've after the individuals I've spoken to that are close to Paul, and I hope later on we can share some of those experiences on a live. It just seems like Paul's trying to do the right thing now. Hindsight kicked in. It's too late. Extreme remorse, extreme guilt, extreme shame, and now he's just trying to do the right thing is what it sounds like. And I agree after seeing him in the courtroom, and Kari, I know we talked about this, he's got a very
I caught a lot of
red-
slack for that opinion, by the way.
Well, it's not
But
to say
hey,
that
it's how I feel, you know?
that's not to say he doesn't deserve punishment. I think he feels like he
Exactly.
deserves punishment, but seeing him compared to the others, you could tell he's like, damn it, that was a bad thing. I cannot believe you can that feeling. You're like, why did I do that? I think he is just eyeballs deep in that hindsight, and he cannot dig himself out of it. Where the other four are like, okay, so is this going to take very long? I need to go back.
Right.
Like they
I
were
mean,
just they're so nonchalant.
Tiffany's probably thinking she's going to get off of this since she's got off everything else for her entire life. You know, she's
Yeah.
got what, 5 pages of
Oh,
ODCR things and
yeah.
everything's dismissed. Which that's for another live, but a lot of shady stuff seemed to be going
Mhm.
on. In the free zone with Norm said waiving speedy trial could also give the DA time to
Agreed.
maneuver. Very good point.
Agreed.
Little Irish, they were going to bury them alive, do you think? It's a good question.
Um,
Ian said they only
honestly,
bought stun guns. I don't know.
I think they probably would have stunned them, thinking they wouldn't have to actually be aggressive towards them other than the stun gun. Put them in the
Yeah.
freezer. Nobody'd ever know. There'd be no DNA. 'Cause that's the thing they don't want was anything tracking back to them. And the DNA is a huge breadcrumb trail. Actually, it's more like a bread loaf trail right back to them. And so I honest, as grotesque and awful as it sounds, and to the family out there, I am so incredibly sorry to say this aloud. But yes, I think that was the plan. A freezer is airtight.
Mhm.
They covered it in cement. They knew what they were going to do. So I think that was the plan. But as Cora put it, things didn't go as planned.
Right. Yeah, I think that that's why you notice in the court documents, there's nothing about purchasing guns or knives, or they wouldn't have needed to purchase that. Tad owned more than plenty. I'm sure they all did. All 5
Well,
of
and
them
I
did.
think Paul forged his own knives. If I read somewhere correctly, that was one of his little gifts. Was I think it was his
Yeah,
own knife. I have to go back and confirm that, but that's a lot of
it
the
was his knife.
okay.
So yeah, I think that they thought that the cheap stun guns at Tiffany, and they were cheap, by the way, stun guns that Miss Adams bought, I think that they thought that was going to be enough. They would stun them where they couldn't move, and they'd throw them in the back of that trailer or whatever, and then they would take them out to Beasley's property
Mm-hmm.
where they had a I don't know. Did they have a freezer in the trailer? Um, I don't know. There's
Oh,
also a thing about using that skid steer to dig a hole that deep, but again, that's for another day. So, the key evidence in the case, DNA evidence, Paul Grice's DNA at the crime scene. Paul Grice's clothing was recovered from the burial site where Jilian and Veronica's bodies were found. The DNA from Paul and Veronica was found on those clothes, linking him directly to the murder and disposal of Butler's body. There was also other clothing that was found in that, and I think that's coming up here. DNA testing confirmed. I think actually they're still confirming that. They haven't actually said anything about the DNA evidence. But there was blood samples taken from the burial site. All right. So the physical evidence, the freezer used for the bodies of Veronica and Jilian were discovered inside a freezer buried at the crime scene.
that's not necessarily the photo that's there. That's just an
Yes.
example of the type of, so it's a deep freeze.
Chest freezer.
My grandma used to have one. It was enormous. It was big enough to be like a long countertop. It was huge. She could store an entire cow in that thing if she wanted to. So that's not the size of freezer that they used.
And I agree with you, Norm. I think they used a freezer in an effort to throw off cadaver dogs. Absolutely, that's what I think. So the freezer apparently was secured with yellow straps, which were traced back to purchases that were made by Tiffany, implicating her and others in the burial. A hammer and knife. A broken hammer was found near Veronica's abandoned vehicle. And while no pistol was found, so there's our answer because I took all this straight from the court documents. While no pistol was found, the hammer's presence does suggest a struggle. There was also blood left on the ground in that area as well. At the burial site, Paul Grice's knife, which was used to kill Veronica, was found along with his discarded clothes. And that is another key piece of physical evidence. The clothing, now Paul and Tad both discarded bloodstained clothing at the burial site, which contained obviously DNA from both the victims. Paul, again, had injured his hand when he was stabbing Veronica, which led to his blood being mixed with Butler's DNA. And I think they're going to have a solid case with the DNA samples.
Mm-hmm. I think so too.
And let's see. Believe it or not, the freezer would not stop a cadaver dog from scent trace. Interesting. I don't know enough about the different like cadaver dogs and things like that. But that's an interesting thought.
I think there was another one. I think CB says that, believe it or not, the freezer would not stop a cadaver dog scent from scent trace. And I tend to agree with that only because if the freezer was already in the hole, or if those bodies touch the ground, that's all it takes. You leave a scent around everywhere that you go. And so now what's interesting, and we have the photos, Kari. We probably need to include those in a live because I don't think we put them out there. But I think they did make it on the Facebook group from other individuals. Was the helicopters with the radar, and I can't remember what kind of radar. I had somebody look at those photos. This was a professional that was in the military, understood all the aircraft, very, very had a really deep understanding of aircraft, and was able to tell me that those were radar type of helicopters. And I think there was 2 of them that were out there over the area. And so cadaver dogs, I don't know if there were any out there anyway, but I think they were looking for a disturbance in the ground because I think they knew. Again, I think Paul Grice has been talking and singing like a canary from the very beginning, so they knew what they had to do. I think they knew exactly where to go, but you need a warrant, right? You can't just go off of somebody's word. I don't think. I think you have to have a couple different things to convince a judge to get a warrant to search. So,
yes. Buckles, so did they determine if they were or were not buried alive, or did they have to wait for the medical examiner's opinion? We'll have to wait for the medical examiner's opinion on that. And I did just post a Facebook group maybe a week ago or so that the state has called the medical examiner's office to testify.
Yes. And that was the new witness that was filed the day
Yes.
of the last hearing. As a result of the last hearing, I received questions on that.
That's really cool, CB. I have a German Shepherd that I would love to train for search and rescue. But they can find the different scents through many different surrounding objects. So you think that they could even, I don't think they did have dogs out there. I'm not sure. I don't think there was. Yeah, Joe said there
There's no
wasn't. I
dogs,
never
yeah.
saw any. But do think, CB, that had they had cadaver dogs, that they could have, that the dogs would have found them that way if they were taken out on Beasley's property? If so, that's
That'd be
amazing.
interesting.
Yeah. So the physical evidence at the burial site, these are the following items were seized. Now, not all of this was at the burial site, but all of these items were seized. There is a USB drive of dig site photographs, evidence, and Faro files. That would have been taken by OSBI. A pair of Wrangler blue jeans with black belt with possible blood. I'm not going to repeat with possible blood after every single one of them, but just know almost all of them do.
Oh, yeah.
A brown sweatshirt, a black hooded sweatshirt, another pair of Wrangler blue jeans. So there's 2 pairs of Wrangler jeans, a brown sweatshirt, and a black hooded sweatshirt. There's also a reddish pink hooded sweatshirt. A roll of duct tape, pair of white Ariat socks, a gray t-shirt, the black handle of a saw, 8 wet swabs. That would just be for OSBI to get the DNA evidence. A ratchet strap, Carhartt black jacket, cloth glove, black K-bar knife. That was Paul Grice's. A gray ball cap, a blue and white ball cap, another pair of cloth gloves, blue/gray Skechers tennis shoes, tan Ariat shoes, black taser and a flashlight, black taser, flashlight, gray Dickies t-shirt, and electrical cord and small black tape. How many outfits do we have there, Tara?
I know
One.
it's
So we got 1, 2, 3 sweatshirts,
2 Wrangler
t-shirts.
jeans.
So it looks like 3 sweatshirts and 2 t-shirts.
And I think those are probably chosen to
They
go
might have-
into the burial because of the amount of DNA that was
Right.
on them, I would
On them.
imagine. Of course, you don't want to be riding home naked and have to explain yourself to people, especially if you get pulled over by accident.
So true.
So it was probably just enough.
Yeah. Hi, Prairie Sage. Uncomfortably numb. Hello. So CB said the smells are separate. That's really interesting. As many cases as I cover, I need to learn a little bit more about the dog and the tracking abilities and the different types. It's really interesting to me.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Surveillance and purchase records. So the burner phones. Tiffany Adams purchased multiple burner phones from Walmart. These were used by the 5 conspirators to communicate about the murders without being tracked, so she thought. Phone records indicate that Paul Adams and other co-defendants used these phones leading up to the time of the murders. One of the stun devices used in the murders was purchased by Tiffany. It was recovered at the burial site. So there was actually 5 stun guns purchased, I believe. I might have to pull that up. The yellow straps used to bind the freezer containing the bodies were purchased by Tiffany. Receipts and surveillance footage and store receipts confirm Adams' purchases, connecting her to the tools used in the murder and cover-up. The phone situation, do you want to explain how that happened with her phones and how she kind of wound up getting caught that way, Tara? Because this is
This
The
is,
dumbest criminal ever, really.
oh my gosh, there's a show for people like this, for reals. Okay,
Yes.
so there is a cell phone repair shop in Guyman, and Tiffany takes this broken burner phone. Now, I believe she'd already had her personal cell phone in there. I can't recall for sure, but that's not the unusual part. The unusual part is Tiffany takes this burner phone in there and asks the shop owner, "Can you fix this?" And the shop owner's like, "This is kind of weird." And so, recognizing the situation, because everything's been out, there's all kinds of things being said, gossip and whatnot, and police presence, law enforcement presence. And so he calls law enforcement, says, "I have this phone," and it's a burner phone, so it's not even what somebody would typically use. And so police are like, "Okay." Um, they get a warrant and they check out the phone and they tell him, tell her to come get it at this point in time. And so Tiffany goes back to get it, and that's when she's arrested because they were able to grab a warrant for that phone. They were able to dump the phone records, grab the pings, and then locate her position, because the phones, all three of the burner phones, because when they got that burner phone, they got the model number. They figured out it was purchased from Walmart in Guyman. They figured out two others were purchased with it, that Tiffany had been the one to purchase those. They checked the pings on them. They pinged over there at the crime site. They pinged over there at Beasley's place, and they pinged in the homes of these people. Tiffany Adams, and there was one that pinged at either Adams or Cullum's home, whichever one they were at, and then at Twombly's house. So the burner phones did Tiffany in herself. So if nobody else, if nothing else happened, if there's no DNA evidence, those burner phones would have been the noose for Tiffany and company, for sure.
Yeah, and I remember when that information came out, the owner, I think it was like his kids and himself, actually messaged us directly through the Facebook group and like, please take this off there, because that was released before
Oh,
law enforcement had released it, and they were worried. His family was concerned
mhm,
for their safety and stuff. So we did remove that right away for them, but it was
correct.
posted.
It was, and then in addition to the pings, CW saw the burner phones being charged in
Yes.
her home. And so that right there is just one of the many connections to the five in this situation. Agreed, CB. There's stupid
Yeah.
criminal award of the year. That was geared towards Prairie Sage. I hadn't seen Prairie Sage in a while, so I had to say
I
something
haven't
to her.
either. Hi, Prairie Sage. It's nice to see you.
And then, yeah, some cadaver dogs can get hits on bodies of water, which blows my mind. Yeah, dogs are
Yeah.
they're amazing in that fashion. I follow a lot of true crime, and some of the things that the dogs can do. It could be years and years later, and they can smell decomp, and they can smell this, that, and I just it was amazing.
Hi,
I
Winnie.
feel
Yes, I agree. Shows how much she felt she was untouchable.
yeah.
Idiots.
Thankfully,
Yep.
they were idiots. Thankfully, as much as it sucks, the outcome of all of this, the one thing the family and the community, friends, all those that have been a part of this don't have that why factor in terms of where. They have the why factor in terms of what were you thinking? How can you do this? But the women were recovered, thankfully. So that's again, I follow a lot of true crime. Kari does too. One of the most heartbreaking things, the things that really drives you in the true crime community is, where are they? How do we
Yes.
find them? How come you don't why how come they can't be found? And so being found is a big, huge milestone in a case, and it sucks, but it's better to have been found than never be found at all and always wonder.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I don't like the ones where they're missing for too long. I mean, whether it's a
Mhm.
child or an adult, doesn't matter. It's just
Yep.
horrible. I can't imagine being family, having to go through something like this to begin with, but then always wondering
Yes.
where is your loved one? So I'm glad OSBI did an amazing job, Tara, and I've said that all along. They did an amazing job on this case with getting, 4 defendants in jail and the bodies recovered within
Yeah.
a 2-week time frame was very amazing, which leads us into the next that was very crucial to that happening. And that
Yeah.
was the testimony of CW.
Yes.
A critical piece of testimony came from CW and the daughter of Cole and Cora Twombly. She's actually Cole's stepdaughter, but Cora's daughter, who
Right.
stated that her parents were involved in the planning and they were attempting to establish an alibi for the time of the murders. CW also told law enforcement that she overheard group conversations between the conspirators, including Grice, about killing Veronica. Witnesses also reported discussions among the defendants about how they planned to kill Butler and Kelley, including a failed attempt to kill Veronica by staging a car accident using an anvil back in February.
Well, it's an anvil hammer. So those are two
Yes.
different things. It's an anvil hammer. So it's not like the
They wanted it to
oh,
fly off the back of a truck
yeah,
and
it's
hit her windshield or something.
right. It's a hammer type thing that depending on who you ask, they've been known to fall off the back of farm trucks and whatnot. It's not like the anvil you would see,
Right.
Bugs Bunny drop on, Sylvester the cat or that kind of thing. It is an anvil hammer.
Bugs Bunny.
So I know there's been some others out there that are stating it's an anvil. It's this amount of weight. It's not the same thing. It's an anvil hammer. I'm relieved they are not in the community too, Winnie. And you're
Yes.
welcome.
Yes. Thank you for being here. Micah said, "This really is a sad, tragic story. I just pray for everyone, all the families, and even those who did it."
Yep.
Absolutely. I agree,
And
Micah.
yeah. And Mike has been a part of following the story from the get-go.
Yes. Yep.
In fact,
The
there's a
very
lot of you
beginning.
in here that have been.
Yes. Prairie Sage, a lot of you, for
Yep.
sure. And thanks for sticking with it. When we stick through something
Yes.
like this, through the sometimes boring court documents and stuff, it's all about getting these 2 women justice. And the big part of that is in the evidence and the court system. So I look forward to that. I look forward to it not like it's an exciting thing. I look forward to it
Mhm.
as it's one step closer to justice for them and for their families and their children and
Yes.
friends. So, um, all right, that was that one. The phone and location data. Phone records show that the burner phones used by the defendants were active in the area of the crime scene at the time of the murders. GPS and cell data, tower data confirmed that the phones linked to Paul Grice, Tiffany Adams, all of them were near the location where Veronica and Jilian disappeared and where the bodies were eventually buried. That picture down here is a picture of the old gas station there at Four Corners that they were to meet at. The phone stopped transmitting after the murders, which investigators interpret as the group's attempt to destroy evidence and avoid detection. The phones that stopped transmitting after the murders were those of Veronica and Jillian's. So that kind of ties the defendant's movements directly to those critical moments of the crime and the subsequent attempt to cover up the crime. The forensic evidence at the burial site. This picture here is a picture of the burial site. Below, I can read, you guys probably can't read that, but it says below a dam in the pasture, concrete was moved from a location near Beasley's residence, which is over here, approximately 150 to 200 yards below the dam. So down here, where it was discovered that a hole had been dug and filled back in and then covered with hay. On March 28th or 29th, Tad Colum asked Beasley if he could cut the tree down, remove a stump, bury some concrete, do dirt work where the concrete pile was, and below the dam. Beasley has not been connected to anything there. He has no charges, although I don't know. He's not been charged with anything. Whether or not maybe he just, I think Tara and I, didn't we talk about that the other day? Like, how would you not know that your friend was out there doing all this would you think anything of it?
If he
But he
were
probably is
home,
standing, hovering over him either to find out what he's up to. So we just kind of took him for his word. I don't know.
was he home at the time? Was he busy? Um,
Yeah.
there's a lot of questions there.
Yeah, there is for me too.
Because that's kind of I mean, that map doesn't show a great amount of distance between that dam area and the house, and
Right.
ugh,
Little Irish boy, for all their quote unquote planning, this is a mess.
no
No
joke,
kidding. No kidding.
no joke, for
Not
real.
as smart as they thought.
Thankfully, once again, thankfully, I don't want criminals to be smart.
Yeah. Colum had obtained permission to dig the hole beforehand. And as I said earlier, Paul assisted in transporting those bodies to the crime scene. So it's 1 hour. That was exactly what I was wanting.
Hey, good job.
Shoo.
You rock.
Trying to get it under 2 hours because it's so hard for a lot of people to sit and watch it for 2 hours, you know? So,
Yeah, but it's a lot of good information. It's the right information. You can always pause and come back. So you just miss out on the chat, but you can always catch up with the chat later too. So it's good.
right. And we have done other lives where we have gone much deeper into all of the actual court documents and stuff. Those are all in the Veronica and Jilian playlist. So if you just want to brush up, put it on 1.5 speed and kind of go through there.
Hmm.
The documents are also in our Facebook group. So if you've joined the Facebook group, then those are always right underneath the files tab. I typically share them after we have shared them with you on the live stream, and then I'll post them in the Facebook group. So everything is in there under the files tab.
Yep.
And CB said, little Irish, this makes world's dumbest criminals look smart for real.
Oh gosh. Accurate, correct, yes. Great
Yeah, they
time
were not
management.
watching they weren't watching the same shows we all were, that's for sure. That's funny because we
Just
just talked about that today.
we
We're like, we were
did.
raised on 48 Hours and Cops and
Dateline and Murder, She
Dateline.
Wrote, Matlock and
Yes.
NCIS and all the unsolved mysteries. We were built for this stuff, and yet
Yes.
they misunderstood. Dummies. Dummies.
Yeah, Margaret, she said, well, as long as someone's running your land and you get the cash, maybe a farmer wouldn't care. That's kind of where I'm at with that. I'm definitely not accusing Beasley of anything, but
My understanding is he cooperated with law enforcement.
yes,
He was very
yes,
cooperative, is what I've heard on more than one occasion. I've not heard anything to counter that either. Typically, we'll hear something that counters a little bit, but this seems pretty uniform that he was willing to cooperate. So I don't think there's
yeah.
anything. I know a lot of people think that he was one of maybe later arrests, and I don't know if he will be or not. I don't know what all OSBI knows at this time. So we just keep our eyes peeled to see what happens next.
Thank you, Husker RN. We appreciate that, and appreciate you guys
That's
all being here
nice.
too.
No
Um,
joke.
Winnie said they were delusional and thought they had the law on their side. Tiffany, absolutely, I believe, thought that. Like I said, the
Mhm.
5 pages just in Oklahoma of her arrests are crazy,
Yep.
and it doesn't seem like she was ever she ever had to pay the price for anything that she did.
Not at all. Should have.
CB's Discord is a no, no, no.
Oh gosh.
I mean, I can kind of agree. Like I said last week, we do have one. If people are in there, they're just like looking at court documents and stuff. So,
Well, you can go in there and share your theories and speculations. No
yeah,
personal information. No, it's not a gossip site. It's an open
right.
theorizing site. But most of that's done on the Facebook group. It seems like so, and all the information's the same.
Little Irish, don't say that too loud.
But
I could probably pull it off. I think some of us probably could too,
Oh
but
my
hey,
gosh, yes.
we don't do those things.
Amazing.
When they initially were missing, it would have been difficult not to go confront Tiffany Adams, knowing without a doubt this was her idea. I especially think of Veronica's dad and how much self-control he had during that time. Yeah, I mean, Tiffany was on the radar from day one.
That was my
Day one.
understanding.
And then that was followed by the Cooks.
Yeah.
The Cooks were on everybody's radar. Lots and lots of rumors
Well, the Twombly's were
regarding them.
too. The Twombly's, I remember that was the
Twombly's, but it was more Frank that was on the
yes, because that was
in the
one of the
rumor mill.
one of the first names that you gave me when you first got
Yeah.
out there, and one of the first things I researched for you is Twombly's, and it was coming back at Frank, unfortunately, but that was a misguided attempt or misguided information, which is fine. They're related. It makes sense. They look alike, and so I don't think it was any kind of I don't think it was to upset anybody. I ain't scared.
Yeah. I ain't scared.
Ain't
What
scared.
do you think? What do you guys think? Do you think that there may be more arrests still to come? I'm genuinely curious what other people think because I
I
have my thoughts. My thoughts have always been that that would be a high possibility. But then as the months have gone by, um, I think that maybe less and less.
d- I keep hearing some interesting comments about future arrests, that this is not quite done. I don't know what that means exactly. I can't get too much more information than that yet, but being patient, maybe I'll get to hear some more. So there's a few out there that think there's more arrests to be had in this situation. So we'll see.
Do we know who?
That's not been
Give the
mentioned to
give
me. I
give the
wish.
tea. Come on,
I
where's the
wish I
tea?
had the tea to spill, but I barely got the hot water. They haven't put the tea in there yet. So
Shoot,
I know,
man.
but there's some information I do have that Kari has. We can't produce yet. We have to wait. And there's some information that we've been teased with, and we're just like, we're patient. Not a problem.
I
We're
mean,
not.
kind of, sort of, not really.
You're not, but I'm like, take
I'm
your time.
not.
It's fine. Do you drink
I
wine?
want to
I
know it.
can share a bottle of wine with you. We can make this very easy. But whatever. I
Yeah.
see. It's not
Uh,
just a drink. It's a tool.
Patrick said, "What about the Cooks? Are they still being investigated? I think as more details are released, it's possible for more arrests depending on what the defendants say." Yeah. And
That's
yes, the Cooks have moved out of town.
yeah. They have. That's been on more than one individual that has shared that information. Do y'all know about Madeline McKinney? Yes. Yeah, but
Oh, yeah.
I haven't heard any new updates since the last gal that thought she might be her.
I covered that crazy story of that crazy
Ugh.
gal that thought that thought she was Madeline. Oh my gosh, that was nuts. I finally stopped covering. I'm like, this is even for me, man, it's too much craziness.
I
But
mean,
it
we
was
like our
wild.
crazy, but we like it
Yeah.
classy kind of crazy.
Yeah, that was just crazy, wild stuff. Buckles up said, I feel with Paul being so honest, in my opinion, that either they have no more arrests to be made or they are just waiting on more concrete evidence.
It could be. I feel like I kind of feel like myself not only knowing what I know, and that includes what we have shared and what we have not shared. I don't see any more arrests, but again, there are things that have not been provided to us or to the public.
Yeah.
So anything is possible at this time. We've had some twists and turns in this whole situation. If
And
the
I
Cook
do
split
think there's
town,
gonna be I think there's gonna be a few more twists and turns. I could be completely wrong. Just kind of my gut
eh,
feeling on it.
it could be. If the Cooks
And
split
kind of
town,
some
isn't that
chatter.
yeah. Oh, yeah. If the Cooks split town, isn't that suspicious? One would think so. However, there's a lot of things that have occurred that don't look good on the Cooks' behalf, including moving. But I do think, from what I understand, they received a lot of negative communication, from threats
Yes.
to ugly, hateful messages. They could not, people, from my understanding, and I haven't heard this from inner circle, so to speak, or anybody close like that, but other people have said that they were called murderers. People had basically, the court of social justice had convicted them. And so they went back to, or they moved, or they just got away from the situation. I'm sure OSBI knows where they're at. I don't think this is the end,
Yeah.
because I would not be surprised if they're called as witnesses and are
Oh
going to have to
gosh, yeah.
testify. So
And Margaret, that is a good point because I've totally had forgotten all about that. The cook's daughter
yes,
is married to Frank Twombly.
yes, one of the daughters
Yep,
is
yep,
married to
yep.
Frank and just married.
Right, not long before the murders,
I want
wasn't
to
it?
say, yeah, it's very close
It was pretty
timing. It's all
close.
tight timing.
Oh, they had a baby?
Already? Really? Because they just got, maybe I'm thinking of a different couple that got married right around the time of the situation. Gosh.
I guess that's
Okay.
possible. It's been a
That's
while.
that's the first I've heard of that, Bojangles. That's very interesting.
Yeah, Doberman said, "I'm sure they asked where Tiffany Adams was,
I
why they needed to watch the
I
children."
I would challenge that
Go
actually,
ahead. Go ahead.
because I do understand that there was a lot of play dates, and so it was not unusual for the cooks to spend time with the minor children of Veronica. Um, it so honestly, them getting a call, from what I understand, I've not confirmed it with the cooks, but from what I understand, it was not unusual for the cooks to get a call, "Hey, I'm on my way," and the kids show up. That was not, and they're while they are a quiet bunch to my understanding, they're very family oriented, and so they were close with Tiffany. The cooks were, so that for them to get a call, that was not a big deal, especially on a birthday party situation and whatnot.
Yeah,
Never phased, to my understanding, never phased them. So that was, in fact, there's a lot of talk that the kids spent more time at the cooks than with Tiffany. Now that was
yes.
described as, well, there's cattle, there's farm responsibilities that kids don't enjoy. So it made sense for the kids to go to the cook so often so that Tiffany could get things done. So it's one of those things where, unless you live a day in the life, you don't know exactly. So
Yeah.
there's still a lot of details that need to come out.
So, Frank is not the one that took CW to where OSBI interviewed her, right?
No, no,
Okay, that's
Frank.
what I thought.
Frank did not. Frank has been steadfast at his father's side,
Yes.
claiming innocence and no involvement. And it was actually it was a family member. That's all I'm going to say. 'Cause I do know for certain it was a family member to CW, but not Frank. It was a different family member. And
Right.
so, um, but OSBI did interview CW, and it was there was an altercation there when the Twombly's found out where CW was at.
Yes.
So
The more I hear about Wrangler, the more I feel like Tad and Tiffany took the opportunity while he was in rehab because they thought he might intervene. However, I do feel like his grandma's telling the truth.
it's interesting. That's very interesting that he would. Well, and keep in mind too, part of the time of being of the essence for Tiffany is that the court date to potentially return the kids to Veronica was coming up in a couple of weeks. And so we've got a lot of opportunity, a lot of means, and a lot of motive to all of this, which I mean, that's the whole point of all this kind of thing.
Yeah.
CW's a different
And
place.
and yeah, the um Veronica's children were at the Cooks the night before and the morning of the murders, for sure.
You check my text. I have my phone turned off, and so I've been getting stuff. Okay.
Yeah, Cole and Cora showed up mad. They tried to intervene, and got a little feisty out there with law enforcement.
A little's a good way to put it.
Wondered about Frank since the arrest went down. Mark that 2 of us run for justice. Just because I think I just never got over his Facebook comment, to be honest with you. To
I
me, that was all I needed to know about the guy,
well,
and
I
that I
don't
haven't gotten past it.
I don't know, Frank. I saw that comment. I remember that comment. I'm like, should I delete this? Do we leave it? And then, of course, we took it down after a while. But you kind of have to. I want to say poor Frank. I think he's super angry at the world. His brother passed a few years ago, and um, and then the situation with his dad and stepmom. God, I want to feel for the guy, but at the same time, it's like, man,
Yeah.
it's a lot to take in. A lot, 'cause he was very, very close with his brother, based on some of the research and that I've been doing on that.
Well, I think his comment to us when we were headed out there to the school that day
Mhm.
spoke volumes. There had not been any arrest. Why was he so defensive so quickly?
Well,
Why did he threaten us to come out there?
I think because the Twombly's had reached the rumor mill pretty quickly, and Facebook had a bunch of that rumor mill going around before, because we let a lot of rhetoric fly through until this fact started coming
Yeah,
out, then we
and I
streamlined
know
that
I
rhetoric.
wasn't a lot of it I didn't see because I just wasn't on Facebook.
Well,
Um,
yeah, being down where you're at, you have very limited internet connection. I know because 'cause I've been down there.
well, and somebody else had my phone almost the whole time, which I'm not
Oh,
complaining.
that's
I offered that, but because of that, there was a
true.
lot I don't think I saw. But I do remember seeing that comment and thinking, "What the heck?"
Yep.
Because I don't think that I had really heard much about Cora and Colt at that point.
It had come out
Um,
some, in the early days,
hadn't
but again, as the facts started coming through, we started streamlining that rhetoric to keep the theories with the facts in mind, and I know we've ticked off a lot of people by removing some things, but the theories, the speculations that have been put out there have been outside the fact, um, scope, and we just want to make sure we keep to that, because a lot of people will go to a Facebook page, they'll go to social media, they'll see something and they'll take it at face value and run with it without actually looking into it. So that's why we definitely want to um we try to minimize that as we go along. So
Yeah, we try to not bring you the rumors. We try to keep them down as much as possible, but still allowing open conversation and dialogue and theories about some of the stuff that we don't know about. It's just, in our nature to question those things and the whys. So we try, to an extent. If theories or rumors get too out of hand, then we do shut those down.
yes.
And we've heard some doozies. Bojangles
Definitely.
said she was close to due date when they got married. Her wedding picture was with a shotgun over her shoulder.
Oh, I
Shotgun.
saw that
Yeah,
shotgun wedding.
literally.
Exactly.
What
Yeah,
is that?
that makes
I'll
sense.
tell you
Okay, that
one.
fits.
I don't know if this is in fact a rumor or a fact. Maybe Tara does. Do the kids have like tattoos or something about God's misfits?
That was something I heard early on. I've not confirmed it. Um, but that
When I say
is
kids, I'm talking
right. The
older ones.
um, I've heard I've heard that all of them as soon as they're
Heard
old
that.
enough, but I've never had it proven. I've not really researched into that. I have been told that the God's misfits was the actual term they used, and I've heard it's not that. And that was just been somebody corrected me and said yes, they did use that term. It absolutely was how they referred to themselves, and it wasn't until they got caught, quote unquote, that they're like, nope, we're just the misfits. And then of course, the actual organization, God's Misfits, has completely denounced this group and any affiliation towards it. And that original organization is from Arizona or New Mexico. I can't remember which, but it's based out of one of those two states. And they've denounced, we're not a part of this. This is not us. We don't know these people, nothing. And
Yeah.
so
I caught
I
a lot of
can,
slack for that.
oh God, I'll look into that a little bit more. I don't know what it's going to, I don't know how that helps the case, but sometimes the littlest details
Right.
do. There's been, now keep in mind, there has been zero talk of any other minors having tattoos. It's specific to one family, so
Yes.
it could be something specific to that family if it's true, but I've not heard of any other minors in that situation. That's an insult to
CB
the actual
saying
misfits.
no. CB saying no, and I
No,
think he's saying no to the tattoo thing. Not sure. I think so,
I bet
though.
he is.
Little Irish girl said that's an insult to the actual misfits. Yeah, that's why we've tried to like keep it because
Right.
that group, the good group, actually, they caught a lot of heat for this in the beginning,
They
and
did.
just like to be like, I mean,
One.
they called themselves that, but there is an actual legit nonprofit
Mhm.
group out there with the same name that does
Yeah.
amazing things. So
When I've gotten on to people, and Kari had to call me down a couple weeks ago with that article, because it was mentioned as God's misfits, and this was before I was corrected, saying this is not what. And I even emailed the guy who wrote the article saying, fix your article, use your journalistic integrity, and fix the article. And so I don't know if he did, and that's fine. But I'm very
she
sensitive to the
did
facts
too,
being facts.
actually.
And Kari was just like, for God's sakes, woman, it's just. I'm like, no, I write for a paper. No, and she's like, is it too early for you to be drinking wine? Like, what are you doing? Can
Well,
you
I
do
mean, the court,
something
that's what the
else?
court documents use. That's the term they're
Yes.
using.
It's like,
So,
damn it.
um,
Ugh.
what did Winnie said? Little Irish, I'm from this area. It's been hard, especially when murder is rare, especially premeditated. People talk out here a lot. Yes, they do, Winnie. Yes, they do. Just
Yes,
like every
they
other
do.
small town, everybody wants to be the one in the know. I too live, my town only has 800 people, so I know all about that stuff.
Gross.
And Run for Justice said she remembered that comment. I believe she's talking about Frank's comment. Yeah,
Hmm.
that got me going, man. That got me going.
Yes,
I'm
it
still
did.
going. Let's look at me. Yeah, I'm still going on about it. I didn't take it lightly.
No, she did not. I had to calm her down on that one. But it was funny. She's like, "Oh, that makes me mad, but let's see where it goes." I'm
Oh
like,
yeah, I'm like, you're not gonna scare me, back me down, but let's see how this
let's see
works
what
out.
turns out. Loved it.
Crazy, crazy.
Oh my
So
god.
that's it. It's been an hour and a half. I hope you guys enjoyed the conversation. Hopefully that kind of refreshed your minds a little bit. Like I said, if you want to look deeper, go and look at the files in the
Yeah.
group, or go back on some of our other lives where we really went into detail about everything. This was just meant to be an overview, mostly about the evidence, because I can tell in the group that a lot of, even myself, have forgotten, you know, well, as you've heard this evening, or like, was there 4 stun guns, 5, So it's easy to forget those kind of details. And in this grand scheme of things, that all those details are going to matter. Um, Next week, we are going to go over what to expect at the preliminary hearings and then what to expect from there. Obviously, we don't know exactly what's going to happen, but based on just general knowledge of preliminary hearings and how those will work, that will be very interesting. Tara and I do plan on being there for those. I wish that, and I hope that somebody like Court TV or something um, puts in whatever it's called to the court to have them where they can live stream the actual trial. Um, I
That'd be
think
cool.
that they will probably try to do that if the judge doesn't allow it from the get go. I don't know. Not sure. Bianca, thank you so much. Little Irish girl, thank you always. I'll see you
Yes,
in
thank
another
you.
chat, I'm sure, here in probably 20 minutes. And Shayna, thank you very much. Carrie,
Aw.
wonderful. Yeah, have her email me. Cash. Well,
Hey,
fancy you
Cash.
getting here as we're leaving.
Late to the party, sir.
You are late to the party, Cash.
It's
All right,
awesome.
so that is it. If you want to connect, there is uh, you can text. You can also
Mhm.
call, but I won't answer. Trust me. I don't even answer my own phone. But you can text it. And then you can also email me, anything you share, most
Right.
everything Tara and I share with each other so that we both know where things are at. So
Yes.
please feel free to reach out for whatever it might be. Prairie Sage, really appreciate seeing you here in the
Yes.
chat. You were somebody that I considered a very sweet lady while I was there. So it's nice to see you. Nice to see you here.
Very
Thank you.
cool.
I won't
And
get
can I do a
emotional.
shameless plug before we go?
Yes, please do.
So tomorrow night on Shenanigans, and I haven't scheduled it yet, but I will. We are going to be back on here tomorrow night, and we're going to be talking about how genealogy research the Ancestry.com, the 23andMe, how it's impacting families, negative and positive. I have my own personal stories I want to share on that one. I just had and this actually, I got this idea from somebody who reached out to me, said, "Hey, can you help me find this person?" I have no idea why they thought I could help them find this person, but it turns out I actually do have the skills and tools for that. And you'll get to hear that story tomorrow, because it's a cool story, and I'll tease it a little bit. I was given minimal information, and by minimal, I mean mom and dad's name, the individual to be found, their name, birth dates, and that father only had interaction with the child for 1 year back in 1962. So in 1963, baby and mom were gone. And that was it. That's all I had to go on. So, we've got several decades later, and I'm being asked to find this person. And believe it or not, in 24 hours, I had all the information this person needed to connect. And there was a very specific reason why. It was a good reason why, but I found them. We made that connection, but there was a catch to that whole situation. There was but what if? So I want to go into talking about the situations where the DNA doesn't match. We find out later it doesn't. Not quite Maury Povich, a little more classy than that. So I hope you guys will be a part of that conversation tonight. If you have your stories, please share them. If you don't want to share them on your own, you can email them to me at shenaniganstalks@gmail.com. And then I will, I think she put
I did.
she put it in there. That's awesome. She put my link in there. And then the burner phone that you can reach out to. If I can, yeah. Oops. And then shenanigans, if I can spell, talks at Gmail. So if you have stories you want to share, I can put them out there for you tomorrow without adding details, but I will share mine. Mine's a doozy. By doozy, I mean, you're going to want to drink for that one, if not a shot. So it's pretty jacked up, and I'm going to piss off a lot of people. So please join us tomorrow night at 7:15. We might go as late as 8:15. A couple of the Shenanigans crew needs to go a little later than normal, so just keep a lookout for that, and we'll see you guys there.
Yes.
Yeah.
We will be there. I'm going to visit my son, my youngest one, tomorrow. It's been like 3 weeks, so I'm so excited to see him.
Aw.
And we'll be there for like 4 days, but I will be with Tara tomorrow evening. And until then, I guess we'll see you guys in other chats. And hopefully we'll see you tomorrow night.
Yes.
If you haven't yet subbed to Tara's channel, please click that link and go over there and subscribe and hit the notification bell. So when she does go live, you'll find out.
And do the same for
that's it.
Kari's channel. I'm pretty sure all of you guys already have, but I feel like I need to say that to be equal.
Yes. All right. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank
We
you,
appreciate
guys.
you. Have a wonderful evening, and then hopefully we'll see you tomorrow night.
Good night.
Bye-bye.